The most dangerous man in the room isn't the one speaking. It's the one who isn't there anymore. Every headline says the same thing. Men are withdrawing. Men are checking out. And every headline misses the point, because what looks like retreat is the oldest offensive move in recorded history. What we're seeing isn't depression, it's dark psychology in reverse. Men learning to defend against the dark triad behaviors that have been draining them for years. The system needs you visible, predictable, and emotionally available. That's how it extracts from you. The moment you step outside that frame, you become a problem they can't solve. In ancient Sparta, the most elite young men weren't celebrated in the streets. They were sent into total darkness. The Krypteia didn't vanish because they were afraid. They vanished because they were becoming something the daylight wasn't ready for. And there was one specific shadow rule the Spartans drilled into these men before they disappeared, one that modern men completely ignore. I'll get to it, but first you need to understand what you're paying to stay visible. Modern life runs on your attention, your reactions, your emotional output. Every post you make, every argument you engage, every explanation you offer to someone who didn't earn it, that's a withdrawal from your power account. This is what psychologists call narcissistic supply. You're feeding the system that extracts from you. And the balance doesn't replenish on its own. You're in a room, digital or physical, and you're performing. Acting like you're okay for the crowd. Acting competent, acting stable, acting like the version of yourself that keeps the peace. That performance has a cost. It's a tax. And you're paying it to people who'll never invest a single thing back into you. You know that feeling. You send a long text explaining your side of the argument, laying it all out, being reasonable, being clear. And then you realize what you actually did. You just handed your enemy the exact weapon they'll use to hurt you tomorrow. This is textbook emotional manipulation. They bait you into over-explaining, then use your words against you. Every word in that message is a thread they can pull. That's the tax, and it's time to stop paying it. But the tax isn't just energy, it's information. When you're fully visible, when everyone can track your progress, clock your failures, read your patterns, they're building a map. A map of your behavior is a map of your limits. They know what you'll do next because you've shown them 100 times. In public, for free. This is psychological warfare disguised as normal social interaction. A predictable man is a controllable man. Your boss knows you won't leave because you told your coworker about your mortgage. Your ex knows exactly what button to press because you showed her where all of them were. Every relationship where you feel stuck, go back and look at how much information you handed over for free. What psychologists call covert manipulation. They make you feel like you're choosing to share when you're actually being harvested. The moment you stop performing, the crowd loses its leverage. Not immediately. There's a lag where they push harder because the signal dropped. But that pressure is the proof. If your visibility didn't serve them, they wouldn't care when it disappeared. Ask yourself this: who in your life knows exactly how you'll react to a criticism? That person owns a piece of you. They've mapped your psychological boundaries. The Spartan protocol starts by reclaiming that deed. The Romans used silence to hide their armies. Generals went quiet before campaigns, compressing force so it could land without warning. But the Spartans used silence for something deeper. They didn't just want to be hidden, they wanted to be reforged. What the Spartans called the Krypteia, modern psychology calls strategic invisibility. Phase 2 of the protocol is where most men fail. It's called the forge. The Agoge wasn't education, it was demolition. Boys entered at 7, stripped of family, comfort, every external source of identity a child depends on. The system didn't build soldiers by adding skills to boys. It built soldiers by removing everything that wasn't the soldier. No warmth, no praise, no audience, just the raw question. What are you when nobody's watching and nobody cares? Most people know the Agoge. What they don't know is what came after it. The Krypteia. The Krypteia was the final phase, reserved for the elite. Plutarch wrote that these young men were sent alone into the countryside with almost nothing. They moved at night. No support, no recognition, no one tracking them. They were ghosts. And the point wasn't punishment, it was the test of whether the forge had actually worked. Picture the silence of a ditch at 2 in the morning, the smell of wet earth, the realization that for the first time in your life, no one knows where you are. That isn't loneliness, That's freedom. At dusk, they rose and moved through the same world everyone else lived in, except no one knew they were there. Learned to see without being seen. To move through a system without being part of it. One where you're in it, but it has no claim on you. Monk mode. Men withdrawing from social life to rebuild isn't some internet fad. It's the civilian agoge. Strip the noise, strip the audience, strip the identity that was built for other people's approval and find out what's underneath. But the Krypteia piece is what everyone skips. Monk mode, as most people practice it, still visible. They post about it. They announce the 30-day challenge. The Krypteia is when you stop telling anyone. When the rebuild happens off the record entirely. That's what actually produces the weapon, because nobody sees it coming. Here's what the research shows, not the pop psychology version. Psychologists call it choosing the cold, intentional solitude, withdrawal on your own terms. The data says a man who chooses the cold doesn't just survive. He matches the life satisfaction of the most connected socialites in the study, but without the cost of their performance. No tax. Same result. But avoidant withdrawal, pulling back because you're afraid, produces depression. The difference isn't the behavior, it's who controls the choice. Look at the Agoge 300 events by Spartan Race, 70 miles of rucking through the Peloponnese, a 380-meter open water swim in freezing conditions, 60-plus hours without sleep, chest deep in freezing water at 3 in the morning, pack digging into your shoulders, nobody watching and nobody caring. That's where the old identity cracks open. Not in the suffering, in the privacy of the suffering. There's a moment, usually around the 48-hour mark of total silence, where the voice in your head that usually speaks to an audience finally shuts up. You stop thinking about how you'll tell people about this. You stop rehearsing the story. You start just being in it. That is the dead zone. And that is where the sovereign man is born. What gets built in that dead zone is something you can't buy and can't fake. The ability to sit somewhere and not need anything from anyone. The ghost advantage, because no one's been watching your development. Nobody can predict what you'll do next. The man who returns from the Krypteia isn't the man who left. And that gap between who they remember and who now stands in front of them is the weapon. Stop. Look at your phone right now. Look at your last 3 notifications. How many of them are people asking for your time, your opinion, or your energy? That is the sound of your power leaking. Here's how you plug the holes. The Krypteia didn't have a manual. They had a code. We call it the Ghost Protocol. 3 rules for operating in the dark. Rule 1, the law of non-legibility, the law of being unmappable. This is the shadow rule the Spartans understood and modern men keep breaking. The Spartans called it the silence of the Night Stalker. It wasn't just being quiet, it was the deliberate act of feeding the enemy noise while you kept the signal for yourself. When you must speak, you give noise, not signal. The Krypteia moved through the world without leaving tracks, not because they weren't there, but because every trace they left was designed to mislead. Be present. Be social. But when people walk away from a conversation with you, they should know less about your actual position than when they walked in. Every explanation you give is a thread someone can pull. You don't owe anyone your story. The people who matter will see the results. The people who don't will see nothing. Think about that friend who only calls when they need something. The one who mapped your helpfulness early and now uses it like a handle to pull you wherever they need you. That's not friendship, they're just mining you for favors. This is classic gaslighting behavior. They make you feel selfish for having boundaries. In a world of extractors, the only way to win is to become a dry well. When they come to pump you for emotional labor or free advice, let them find nothing but an echo. They'll stop coming. And that is exactly when your real work begins. Rule 2, compress your output. The forge demands fuel. And right now, your energy is spread across a dozen channels that return nothing. Stop spending your life force on people who treat you like a utility. Every hour you give to someone who only takes is an hour stolen from the build. Rule 3, expand your capability. The dark room isn't empty. It's a construction site. Every hour you're not spending on performance is an hour free for building something they can't see coming. You can be on social media without being a user. Sit in the office without being part of the culture. Watch, learn, collect, but leave no tracks. Move through the system without the system having a claim on you. When you vanish from social spaces, you don't disappear from people's minds. You become larger in them. Humans fear what they can't map. The man who went quiet 3 months ago is a bigger presence in everyone's head than the man who posted every day. They can see the poster, they can't see you. And what they can't see, they can't stop thinking about. One warning, the most important line in this script. This is not avoidance dressed up as strategy. Avoidance shrinks you. If you're pulling back because you're afraid, that's not the ghost protocol. That's a cage with a label on it. The protocol grows you in secret. If you're building, you're forging. If you're hiding, you're drowning. Be honest about which one it is. The men choosing to disappear right now aren't lost. They're in the black site, and the black site isn't a place you visit. It's a room you build inside your mind and lock from the inside. You can walk through a crowded mall or sit in a corporate meeting, but you are always operating from the black site. Not your boss, not your ex, not the algorithm. No one has jurisdiction there. Men have always rebuilt this way when the visible world stopped working. The world will call it depression, antisocial behavior, failure to launch. Let them. The Spartans didn't explain the Agoge to the people who couldn't survive it. Before you leave this video, commit to one 24-hour period of total non-legibility. No posts, no explanations, no helpful favors, just the silence. Watch how the world reacts when it can't find its handle on you. Subscribe if you want the protocols they don't teach in public. And drop a comment telling me what you're building in your black site.